This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Welcome to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Werner, licensed mental health counselor in the state of Florida. Moments of Clarity's mission is to educate and end the stigma on mental health through the inspirational stories of our exceptional guests. You can join in the show by calling Tiffany toll-free at 866-826-1340 or on Facebook and Twitter at MOC with Tiffany. Now, here's Tiffany Werner.
Hi, and thanks for listening. This is Moments of Clarity. My name is Tiffany Werner. I am a licensed mental health counselor, and I'm your host. Today we're going to be discussing some things that are controversial for some people that don't quite understand certain mental health issues and what it's like to live with mental health issues and challenges. And today we're going to be discussing the difference between dissociative identity disorder, which was formerly known as multi-personality disorder, and bipolar. And before we start, I want to say hi to Ed behind the glass. And hi, Ed.
It's a windy Thursday.
It is.
What are you wearing, by the way?
The designers. I'm not at that level yet.
You got all flustered. That's what I do to telemarketers, by the way. When it's a woman caller, I just pause and say, "What are you wearing right now?" And then you automatically get taken off their list. No, but I thought your arm was in a sling at first.
It's a sweater.
Okay. Well, it's just kind of going diagonal.
It's called color block.
Okay.
It's trendy.
As long as you like it, that's what matters.
I'll take a Tan Talk shirt. But thanks for noticing. And yes, my designers are from certain categories. One day, Ed, one day. But today, we're going to be discussing dissociative identity disorder and the difference between that and bipolar. And first, I want to introduce my guest, and she's the founder of DID Discovering Hope, and has helped so many people that have lived with and been misdiagnosed with dissociative identity disorder, and is really helping so many people find themselves and understand their mental health problems. And I want to welcome to Moments of Clarity, Cole Ian.
Hello, Tiffany. How are you?
Very good, and welcome back. And it's really great to know that you know how much you're doing for the community, and we're going to talk about some things coming up too.
Yes.
And you really put yourself out there and saved so many lives, and I want to commend you on that.
Oh, thank you. Especially
since you've lived with that yourself. And so let's talk a little bit about your history and your moment of clarity and where you are today.
So I grew up in a very violent home. I was trafficked out as a toddler, and I had amnesia. I didn't have any of the memories of my childhood. I grew up in a very toxic, alcoholic, drug addict home. And I started to develop a lot of anxiety and depression probably around my mid-20s. And by the time I was 30, I started getting all my memories back.
That must have been really scary.
It was extremely terrifying. Right. I thought I was going crazy. I didn't know what was going on. Everything looked good on the outside, but on the inside, everything was a complete mess, very confusing for me. It was just, and I had, I ran a business. I went to college. I was a professional, and everything was normal. I mean, I struggled with certain things throughout my life, but I just thought that was normal, whatever that looks like. And then it just hit me, and I couldn't work. My brain, I just call it crashed. Couldn't work anymore. I just was constantly in a state of terror, and it felt like my life, everything that was happening to me was happening in that moment.
Right.
And then as I was going through it, I began to realize I was losing a lot of time. I would lose hours, and I would be like, what happened to the time? And
that's what disassociations and episodes are.
Exactly. And before that, the interesting is I was a workaholic. So I worked all the time. So it didn't dawn on me how much time I was actually losing before. But it was always, people would come up to me and talk to me, and I'd be like, I don't even know who that person is. But I took it down to, I'm a workaholic. I worked with children. I spent a lot of time just meeting different people. So I just thought it was just that, and so when it started happening, I again didn't think anything of it, didn't think anything that it was dissociative identity disorder. I had never even heard of it, and it was actually my husband at the time, who was my friend, who discovered. I had actually switched into another personality. It was actually a 4-year-old little girl who was talking to him.
Wow.
And I came back and he looked at me and go, "Do you remember anything?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And that was scary to discover that. And so then I started to get, I didn't want to look up anything because I thought if I look up anything, I'm making it up or it's not real. So I'm not going to look anything up. And
we said that's very damaging to do is Wikipedia ourselves.
Yeah, I was like,
there's a lot of stuff on the internet that can be
just so false,
right?
And so I didn't want to research anything. And so I did get into therapy. And the first day I went into therapy, they instantly said PTSD. Second day therapy, dissociation came up. And at that point, I had already had some pretty good idea of what was going on, and began the journey of recovery. Today, I'm completely co-conscious. I'm aware.
Good.
And lots of integration. So integration is when parts of selves actually become together in harmony. I like to call it harmony because I don't really know what it really looks like. If it's, everyone has a different kind of description of what wholeness looks like.
Right.
And I think it's always a work in progress. Always working on something new to discover and realize, oh, this is something else that I have to work on now. And so sometimes memories still come up, and it's a little bit easier today than it was back then, a couple of years ago, almost 9 years ago, about maybe 10 years ago, actually. It was a lot harder then, and learning the coping skills and learning how to handle it and being able to communicate with myself and all of me was really helpful. And acceptance is a huge thing, and support. Like, those are the two main things I think was really beneficial: support and acceptance. And of course, acceptance is the hardest.
Right.
'Cause who wants to believe like this horrible stuff happened and and you're crazy? Like, that's what my thought was. I'm crazy. And of course I'm not crazy, but and there wasn't a lot of help out there. There wasn't a lot of support. There was either I'm a believer. I have my faith, and the church would say go to a mental health counselor and demon possessed, and then I go to the mental health, and they didn't want to talk about my beliefs, and it was really, really hard for me because I wanted both, and that was a big challenge. And
you still have to find the right therapist.
Find the right therapist, yes.
That's not only knowledgeable with trauma, but also maybe a Christian counselor or a faith-based as well. It's amazing what the mind does to us and to protect us from
really
horrific abuse. As a child, it blocked your memories.
Completely.
And if you're human trafficked as a toddler, not remembering a big chunk of your childhood and then having it flood and having it be horrible, it's horrible to think that would happen. I'm sorry you went through that. But your mind protected you, your brain, and that's where these things come out to protect us.
I'm really thankful that the brain works that way, because I don't think I would have survived at all if I didn't dissociate, because it was so horrific.
You wouldn't be who you are today.
I would not be here today. I wouldn't be who I am today.
Right.
And I really believe that because of that, I'm on this journey and helping others, because it's so not talked about. Or there's even mental health professionals. I think I shared it before when I was on the show. Not a lot of mental health professionals even know about it or believe in it. And so that makes it a little bit more challenging.
They're just not educated enough. And then sometimes it's just like one of those things that comes across as fictitious, or some people, blame stuff on that, especially if they commit a crime, or, a lot of people are like, I don't remember doing that. And that's happened in the past, which has put a barrier on for people like yourself that are telling the truth.
Exactly. Telling the truth.
Legitimate.
And also, I'm really big on taking responsibility for my actions, regardless if there's another personality or not. It's still all of me.
Right.
And recognizing that and saying, that happened and I did that, and not using my disorder as an excuse for any type of behavior, whether I'm angry or mistreating someone, by yelling or whatever. In the past, I did a lot of that because I was so triggered by so many things. I would get upset, and I didn't know. I was dealing with PTSD and all that other stuff, so it was definitely challenging.
Unfortunately, we have to face our traumas and remember them and then relive them and then heal from them if they weren't dealt with in the past. And that's hard for some people to do, for most people to do. But it's very beneficial, and it leads to hope and healing down the road.
Absolutely. I agree.
And a different perception.
Yeah. And I think it makes you a little bit more aware of society and the world. I think I was very blinded by things before I discovered my own memories. I never really thought it happened in other countries. It doesn't happen here. I was very blinded by human trafficking and what that really looked like, and didn't have an issue with people watching porn and all these other things that contribute to all of that. So that was definitely a factor.
Yeah, and understanding that you're not alone, that it doesn't even discriminate on socioeconomic status or upbringing or race or country.
It happens to everyone. It can happen to anyone.
It can, unfortunately. And even this area, I hear, is like one of the number one places in America for human trafficking.
It's the third, this is the third state that's the highest.
It's just terrifying to think about.
Yeah. And it's big in like Ybor area, the Tampa Bay area, but Ybor's huge. So it's very terrifying to see that it's happening. And children, I'm just amazed that I survived. Usually 7 years, a child will survive only 7 years in human trafficking, and they will die, unfortunately. Yeah. Statistically. So.
Or want to.
Or want to, yeah. Right. Yeah. Who would want to live that?
Yeah. And, I pray for them. It's I don't know.
I had no words for it.
I know, right?
I don't even have words for it, and I experienced it. I was young enough, I think, that my mother got us out. I don't think she knew about that part of it, of the abuse. But I was young enough to get out. I think it only lasted for like a year and a half. I was still being abused sexually, but that part of it only lasted about a year.
The trafficking part?
The trafficking part.
I mean, and then that's how horrible it is. You're like, well, I was still only abused, but at least that part was over. That's
that part's that's horrible.
It's horrible. All of it's bad, and nobody should ever have to go through that, ever. So let's see. It's almost time for a break, but we have a caller calling in, and he's been a co-host with me on Beyond Clarity. We're going to talk about this bipolar as well, because some people wonder if a manic episode can be a disassociation or dissociative state as well. And we're going to talk about the difference and some coping skills. And I want to also address these banquets and things that you're coming up with to educate others and to spread the knowledge on how to help. I mean, I don't think we're not doing enough to save people from ever having to go through that. And I know that there's a lot of people out there trying to help, but obviously it's not enough. And so we're going to talk about that. Let's take our first commercial break, and we'll be back with Moments of Clarity in just a moment. Please stay tuned.
You're listening to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Werner. We welcome your input at 866-826-1340. Tiffany will be right back after this.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Are you or your loved one suffering from addiction to drugs or alcohol? My name is Steven Sundquist, and I'm a recovered addict. You are not alone. My team of dedicated professionals at All In Solutions Counseling Center is waiting to help you. With our evidence-based services, you can rely on us to help you get your life back. As addicts, we create a lot of excuses as to why it's not the right time to go to treatment. But the reality is there is no such thing as the right time when your addiction is the one in control. We accept most major insurances, offer a variety of treatment options, and can assist in the process of utilizing resources such as the Family Medical Leave Act, or FMLA. In my experience, FMLA allowed me to get the help I needed to return back to my place of employment with a healthy state of mind. Call now, 561-289-0779. Again, that number is 561-289-0779. 3 years ago, I made the call. Will you?
The promise of the new decade is that you can change your life by changing the way you think about your money. You must learn how to make more money, save more money, grow your money, and protect your money. Forever Forward Financial specializes in teaching you these 4 money skills. Please call us today at 727-422